Welcome everybody. I know that we have already a couple of joiners here in the room and there's probably more to come, but we're big fans of starting on time. So with having said that, I warmly welcome everybody in the audience. We cannot see you, which feels a little bit weird, but of course you can see us. My name is Karsten. I'm one of the founders of Workmotion. We're a Berlin-based startup. We're quite young, 10 months old, and we are tackling global employment, which is to some extent solving also the shortage of talent. It's my pleasure to be today's host in this panel discussion together with Eva and with Susie. So we're super happy that we have won both of them to participate and share their knowledge in this format here. The format, by the way, this is an event presented by Global Hub. Global Hub is our community that we are building out of Workmotion for HR leaders and everybody interested in everything related to remote work. So it should be like a community where like-minded leaders are meeting and can have exchange of tools, of knowledge, of content, and so on. We have launched Global Hub only a couple of weeks ago. I think this is our third, fourth, or fifth event. I lost track a little bit. And the way we did it so far was that we always tried to have covered most of the languages that are most likely relevant for the audience. So we have events in English. Sometimes we have events in German. As you can hear, this is going to be an English event. So I hope everybody's fine with that. And with that, I'm looking forward to the next 45, maybe to 60 minutes together with Eva and Susie. And because they have achieved so much in their career, so I try to read through everything they've done, the books they've written, the blogs they have started, and the companies they have started, and so on. So it was really hard for me to tackle and to grasp all of the background that both can offer here. So having said that, I would warmly welcome you guys, and I would maybe offer to you quickly that you could present yourself. Maybe we start with Eva, and then we turn it over to Susie.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carsten. So hello and good evening, everyone. It's a bit hard if you can't see any faces besides ours. So, but anyways, my name is Eva Stock, and I'm head of HR. I wanted to say no. I'm head of business relations at Job UFO, but I'm an HR expert, and I'm in this industry for 10 years now. So I tend to say I'm head of HR, which kind of works also for me. But at Job UFO, I'm mostly responsible for connecting with companies and doing stuff like this, speaking about HR and recruiting. And on my HR expert side, I'm also hosting a blog, which is called hrsnotacrime.com. It's unfortunately not in English. It's so far German only, but I try to work on it. So maybe it's the goal for this year to also write some English blogs there. So yeah, that's about me. I also wrote a book, but it's also German only. As you can tell, I'm more the expert for the German market here. So I'm handing over to Susan and see what she's going to tell us about her.
Thank you, Eva. And yes, good evening all. It's great to be here. So thank you for the opportunity to join you guys. So I'm Susie Salam, or Suzanne Salam if you see me online. And I'm a culture change consultant, and I've been in culture change and people strategy for a while now, about 6 years of my career actually focusing on that, working with leaders across different sectors to really help create an environment where people can thrive. And some of the things that I work with, we're addressing things like inclusivity, specific leadership behavior, or people policies around any culture misalignments, for example, across teams. Before that, I had a long career in internal communications as well, all of that focusing on employee experience. And I've been fortunate enough to have roles in banking. I've worked in the legal sector. I've also worked in hospitality and tourism and professional services. So quite a few different industries that I've worked in there. And similar to Eva, that just a side business that I also run there that around career coaching specifically. And I founded that last year to really focus one-to-one with leaders around their own limiting beliefs, defining career purpose, but also how they can be a catalyst for change back in their organizations.
Awesome. So welcome, the two of you. It's great to have you here. So with that, I want to dive right into our topic of today, which is of course the shortage of talent, and specifically, the tools and tips that you, based on your extensive career, would like to share. But before we do that, I want to challenge you on the definition of shortage of talent, because I think everybody has like sort of a different understanding how they define the shortage of talent. Maybe Susie, you wanna start here. Like when someone says shortage of talent, what comes to your mind?
I think that for me, what comes to my mind is probably around skills, specific skills that certain organizations are looking for. Talent is a very broad term, and if you're talking about people, there's people, and there's people everywhere looking for work, especially in the current circumstances we're in. But we do know that there is a shortage of specific skills that companies are looking for. There is a good survey, global CEO survey that was published by PwC last year, which actually showed that 60% of global CEOs are really worried about the shortage of talent, and in that specific instance, we're talking about specific skills.
Okay, so it's skill related. What would you add to that definition, Eva?
Yeah, I'd also say like it's more of a feeling than a fact, to be honest. So I'd say so. I think the feeling of shortage of talents occurs when you feel like you don't have enough talent in your pipeline to fill the positions that you urge to fill. And also when a company went through interview phases, and or when a company already went through an interview phase where they didn't get any results from, so no candidates popped out and they couldn't make the hire, then the feeling comes up, oh my God, we didn't do enough, there's no one to fill this position. And I'd say it's more of a feeling than a fact, but let's talk about it. I don't know.
and I'm wondering, like, do you see, are there any differences that you see maybe in terms of industries that we're looking at, or different functions maybe? Like, where would you say is shortage of talent hitting the hardest, or maybe location-wise, right? So,
yeah, maybe for Germany. So it's my German view here, and I'm already excited for Susie's view. But so I think right now we can see the urgency, especially in the health sector. Also due to COVID, I think it's nearly the same in the UK, the NHS there. It's a special and maybe a different topic, but also we also know these things here in Germany. So low wages, not the right compensations for the work that people are doing, especially in the healthcare sector. So I guess this is one also pandemic wise, the crucial part right now. But also in Germany, like it's a thing, I don't know how this is in the UK, but in Germany, if you're a company, we call it the Mittelstand. So it's Mittelstand, it's the backbone of the German workforce, I'd say. So it's not the smaller companies, not the super large companies. It's somewhere in between. They're hidden champions, they're worldwide players, but they sit somewhere in rural Germany where people don't tend to think that there are such huge companies that that have a strong brand in the end. But I think also this is a fact in Germany, that there is also this shortage of talent in these, let's say, rural areas in Germany, or not the common known places like Berlin, like Munich, like Cologne, where talent strives to. Yeah, but it's then Castrop-Rauxel or Bielefeld, which you have maybe never heard of. I don't know. So I think this is also a fact in Germany that has an impact on talent market. that we have those hidden players.
So very interesting. I think you mentioned a couple of things that are interesting, right? So it can be industry specific, and I think your example was like the healthcare industry. So, and I was like, initially when I thought about shortage of talent, I thought more like about the technology sector in which we are in, right? So, but of course, like, I mean, we see it every single day in the news, right? So how the healthcare industry is struggling. And I think you mentioned location as a very sort of like one driver to like shortage of talent. So that's interesting. Maybe Susie, I know that you maybe want to add something to this.
Yeah, I was just going to say, very similar to Eva, actually. In England, in the UK, we're actually seeing a shortage of talent again, nurses and the medical professions as well. Really interesting, given the current circumstances we're in with COVID. Brexit has hit the UK as well, so that's had added another dimension there. And similar, I think it's the stress, the pressure, everything related to that. Interestingly, we're also seeing a shortage of talent here, or skills related to programmers, software engineers. So another one that needs to, a lot of people are looking at, and human resources and leadership skills as well. So I think there's, if you've got those skills, there's a big market out there and a big shortage.
And would you say, so you mentioned Brexit already, so Brexit is more like a very recent event. I think COVID-19 was already mentioned by you guys. So maybe if you look back 5 or 10 years into the past, what do you see, like, is the problem getting bigger, or is it moving from industry to industry? Can you identify like any sort of trends related to that definition of talent shortage? Maybe Eva, yeah?
Should I start?
Sure.
So I'd say like, yeah, the bigger and let's say older, more established companies, they aged across all departments. And so yeah, it's also historical, like historical events that brought them there. But in the end, it's also that I don't know, they were waiting for wonders. I don't know why they didn't tackle these situations beforehand, because I worked for Deutsche Bahn and I know that they are like really, yeah, they were aware of the problem. But the thing is, there are jobs you need like 10 to 15 years training for. So that means you have to start very early. And Germany is very keen about certificates. Like, so I think this is a thing that that I see, that bigger companies, older industries aged. The baby boomers are now old, and there's not enough talent, young talent, to train, and there is not enough time to train them in the old ways. Like, you need the talent now, and this is a huge problem, especially if younger talent tends to stay only 2 to 3 years in the same position or within the same company. So there are many problems that companies have to face right now, and that they didn't take good enough care of beforehand. And now everyone is looking at the same talent pool, because there are no babies born that are already, I don't know, train conductors, let's say, at Deutsche Bahn. So I think this is like a huge thing that I think has changed in the last 5 to 10 years, that they really are in struggle now with the things they forgot, because maybe they didn't have the right HR talent, Susie. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Eva. I think it's a really good point. It's that lack of the lack of planning, the lack of future thinking around what are the gaps that we're going to need, or the skills we're going to need in the future, 10 years from now. Let's start preparing them now. And I think a lot of companies it's dawned on them these days that this is an issue now. A couple of things also I would add is that, you know, you've got, one is the generation gap that you've just mentioned there. The generation gap, that people are coming into the organizations now. You've got Gen Z, you've got millennials now thinking about what their careers are. They're looking for different types of jobs. So that's one factor. Another element I'd add to that is actually when you look at automation, when you look at digitization, all of that coming in and completely disrupting different jobs. So I think it was 85 million jobs globally maybe completely disappear, according to the World the Economic Forum, and that's a big shock. I mean, some of these jobs you could think about, accounting, auditing, these types of jobs. That's a lot of analysis. They may actually disappear. So what's going to replace them? And we're looking for much more human-centric skills, and that's where the shortage is. Because if you've spent the last 15, 20 years of your career training up to be that auditor with all of those analytical skills, has the company actually invested in you to build the different blocks of skills that are going to be needed 10 years from now? So I think it's a really interesting dynamic right now.
I think the argument that you brought up with the disappearing jobs, I think that's I remember like one data point. I cannot quote it entirely perfect, but I think 150 years ago, like 98% or so were like farmers, right? So this kind of jobs were also like automated by machines. But do we have now 98% of the population being unemployed farmers? No, we don't have them, right? So it's natural that like jobs are evolving and needed skills are evolving. I remember then when I joined the workforce 15 years ago, nobody wanted to become a developer, right? So it was sort of a nerd thing. And I think this also has like completely changed, right? So now it's like the coolest thing if you know how to code. I have a 5-year-old son, and whenever he wants to play on the tablet, I feel sort of bad as a parent, but then I think maybe he's getting attracted to technology and maybe he will become a developer in the future, because this will of course like open up a lot of opportunities for him. So having said that, I quickly want to look at the comments, and I think I forgot the comments, and that everybody here listening to us has the option to, of course, ask a question or make a point. And I think Daniel made a good point. So he distinguished between actually, I think, 2 steps in the journey. So one is like how to track talent, and then the other one is, of course, like nurturing existing talent. And on this comment, I would love to ask Eva and Susie. So, what does talent actually want? So let's talk about talent acquisition, right? What do they want from an employer?
Yeah, so looking at right now, I'd say, I don't know how you feel, but I think mostly stability, although this wasn't like on top of the list before COVID happened. But I think right now, like stability without too many boundaries. I know this sounds a bit crazy, but I guess talent still wants to be able to grow, to also be trusted, but they also seek, in my opinion, for stability right now. I think surveys within young professionals tended to also point out stabilities in the last year. So I don't have like a number on hand right now, but stability was always a factor for young talents, also before COVID. But I think right now it's for everyone like this huge thing that everyone is looking for, because these are uncertain times. And especially if your employer struggles with COVID right now, or with Kurzarbeit, I don't know what's the English term right now. So you have a shorter time to work right now. It's a German. I think it's a German structure right now where you get paid, although you don't work 40 hours, but the state or the government pays some. Pay some part of your.
Is that during COVID? Do you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So furlough, we've got that in UK.
Okay, so yeah, but you see, I lost track now. Thinking about Kurzarbeitergeld.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I think, Eva, what was interesting was you brought up stability first, right? So you were like very, very keen on stability. Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned also like, talent wants to be able to grow and so on. I would counter argue now that on stability, the examples that you made earlier on, right? So Deutsche Bahn has a problem of shortage of talent, right? So I mean, hospitals are looking for nurses, right? So I think they can offer stability to some extent. So wouldn't we agree that probably stability is an important part, but it's not all, right? So there's way more.
Yes.
So I'm looking now to Susie. What you think is needed today as an employer to attract the right talent?
Yeah, so it's actually a debate that a lot of organizations are going through now, especially on the return to work. And everybody is now surveying their people, surveying talent, really understand what's required. And one of the biggest things coming out is flexibility and agility in the way they work. So people are, we've been working remotely in the UK, specifically here for the last 12 months. A high degree of burnout it's manifested itself. However, what people have recognized is that flexibility, that agility has allowed me to do other things. So work-life balance almost. And a lot of people have actually moved out of the city as well. So there's a big trend at the moment, big influx of people leaving London, for example. And that's all because of that remote working. So coming back into the work, people are looking for more flexibility. Looking for being able to come into the office because they still need that collaboration, but they want to be able to work the way they want. With that comes a need for them to be measured differently. So a lot of people are asking, measure me based on my outcomes versus on outputs. And that's going to be a natural evolution of leadership style, I think, over the next few years. And then Eva mentioned a point around almost the career development. It's really important coming into jobs. Now, the first thing people are asking in interviews and when they're searching for companies online, the first thing they're looking for is career development prospects. And if I'm going to be here for the next 2 to 5 years, I want to know what I can get out of this company as well as giving myself. So it's important that companies are really clear on sharing what they can give employees back to use that as a mechanism to attract them. And then obviously it goes without saying that diversity and inclusion has always been, for the last, I would say, 24 months now, a big, big topic of conversation and a big driver. So many are joining organizations based on their inclusivity agenda.
So they do want like a good company culture. Then let's say, yeah. So it's not just only here's the job, this is the money, these are the benefits. Now do your work. It's more of, okay, why am I doing this work? For whom? Also, maybe that's also interesting forecast. But yeah, and yeah, what does the company want to achieve? Also, like in a broader state of mind, not only okay, what are we producing, but what is our benefit to the world? I think this is something, especially if you're looking back in time, if I'd said this on my first job interview, they would have looked at me like, are you crazy? Yeah. So we're just out of the banking crisis, take this job. If you don't take it, somebody else will. So there are a lot of people next in line. And I think this is also something, coming back to your last question, which has changed over the last 10 years. So
I think it's a combination of multiple components, right? So maybe to sum them all up, it's sort of the brand that an employer is conveying, right? So, I mean, is there anything concrete if you were to coach a talent acquisition manager right now and she or he says, well, we do have a problem of finding and attracting talent. Is there like a quick fix, or is it more like an established process that maybe needs to start from the top, from the leadership, and really work on the basics? And I'm sure, Susie, you have this on your daily consulting practice engagements. So what's the right approach? If companies know that they have a problem, what can they do?
So I mean, we raised our eyebrows with a quick fix, and I think, to be honest, I think there are some quick fixes that a lot of companies can put in place, and quick fixes can include your employee brand, like you said. Well, how are you communicating your purpose, your mission, to really attract people? So think about your potential employees as your customers, essentially, because you need to attract them in. But long term, you need to be thinking about what skills you actually need and how are you nurturing those skills. So what investment are you making to create the talent pools? Are you going out to universities? Are you working with the government? Are you, shaping the future of the skills that's going to come into your organization? Or are you nurturing internal skills as well? So, and I think that's a really important part of your strategic plan, really, and what we would say part of your people strategy.
And who would you say is leading such a topic, such an initiative? Should it be led by the HR leader, or is it more like the C-level founders, sort of like the leadership? So where's the right point to attack, let's say?
So my opinion, and I really welcome Eva's response on this. My opinion is that this is a very strategic decision. It needs to come from the top, with HR as the custodians of driving it, rather than it just being talent management driving it. Eva?
Yeah, our best scenario would be that HR is sitting on top of management as well. So on the table with management, and it's not just a head of position, but maybe also really a top management position. This is what I would advise anyway, because as we're talking about it, it's like the thing every company is facing right now is the shortage of talent, or the drive to tackle the right talent, and you need HR at the table, otherwise forget it. So there will be a few initiatives, but HR is the position to keep everything together and really to connect all the dots, I think. So this will be my wish too.
Totally agree. So by the way, so at Workmotion, we were just looking for like a leadership position in HR, and the way I pitched it to the candidate was this gonna be like the hardest job at Workmotion, right? So forget about all like CSO or head of sales or something like this, right? So HR is the hardest job because we have like very ambitious growth plans, and we need to get the talent in order to fulfill or to execute on those growth plans. So this will be the most challenging job at our company, at least.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we mentioned it before already, like in the what's attractive to like talent. And one thing that you pointed out, Susie, was flexible work or remote work. And I think you framed it a little bit that more to the extent that people that are, let's say, like in the city of the headquarter, that they are more flexible and maybe working from the home office or so. But now let's go a little bit broader. Do you see like a trend in terms of cross-border remote work? Is this getting bigger in terms of your point of view? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we started seeing actually at the start of the pandemic. So with remote working comes a lot of benefits. Obviously, it has had some challenges, but a lot of benefits, and that includes where you can get your talent from. So it's opened a wider pool of talent, where previously, for example, a head office for a banking, a global bank would be based in London, would be looking specific roles or skills within London, high competition because all of them are there. But now that they're able to open that up, they're looking across the rest of the UK, and they're also able to look globally. But another dimension I'd add to that is disability. So lack of travel, for example, or lack of the ability to travel from a disability perspective, or, for example, any family considerations, has previously stopped a certain talent pool from entering into that specific market and being able to compete in it. And remote working and flexibility has enabled that completely. So I think it's really completely changing the dynamic around where you can get your talent.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to add, Eva, on terms of flexible remote work, cross-border? How important do you think is this for solving at least a part of the problem?
Yeah, for sure. It is really crucial but for Germany, I see the language barrier as a huge obstacle to overcome, because right now, most of the German working culture is German, and besides from startups, working language is German. So I think this is, what do you do then? Do you change company language? Do you try to install different bubbles into the existing company culture? could this work? I don't know. So there are a lot of questions, especially for the German market, when they're looking for talent abroad, if their working language isn't English. Yeah,
that's fascinating, Eva. So do you then, I mean, as part of it, is there like language training when you bring people on board?
So there should be, but I guess language training, especially in German, is hard if you don't have the practice all day long in different situations. I think it's really hard to learn. It's really a language hard to learn if you don't use it like every day. And if people are, you know how people are like in the working environment and they want to be quick, so they're approaching you in English if they can. And so you don't get the amount of working hours maybe. So yeah, sure, you could work on this, but learning German, I guess it takes some time. And yeah. So I wonder if maybe someone in the community has already experiences with it the other way around. I know that some companies really changed their first company language because of the shortage of talent. So maybe someone has from the audience has to add something to it. This would be interesting.
So where I wanted to get is like sort of also understand like if there's any other obstacles besides language, right? So I think language, I didn't have like this in my framework, let's say, right? So because like over like in my entire career, I've been working in like international companies, but I totally agree, right? So Germans are particular on language, right? And Germans are going as far as if there's 3 Germans in a room and someone who doesn't speak German, the 3 will still speak German, right? So because it's easier for them. But do you guys see like any other obstacles when it comes to hiring remote talent cross-border?
Yeah, let's go first, as you know. I just talked, yeah.
I think what the one of the things we're starting to see is just leadership. So leadership in this remote environment, unless organizations are really supporting their leaders with the right tools, to whether they can manage, collaborate, etc., with their people, it's becoming quite tough for leaders, and we really need to think about how we're supporting them. Okay,
great. So maybe a little bit from our conversations that we have with some clients. So as you know, like WorkMotion is helping companies to compliantly hire and onboard people abroad in countries where clients don't have like legal entities. And I think what's fascinating is that this was like the standard use case that we started with, right? So it's like the new talent. So let's say like a German company, they found like a great developer in Poland or in Russia or something like this. And we solved that problem. And I think now the conversation has shifted a little bit because now the existing workforce actually sees, hey, our company is starting to have like remote people all over the planet, right? So why do I have to be in Germany? Can I not move, I don't know, like to a place where it's a little bit more sunny during the winter? So I see this is a big trend right now. And this, again, it creates like another problem because now existing employees that maybe have been happy before, but now they really are asking for this kind of flexibility. Not all of them, not everybody is like a digital nomad, let's say, and wants to work from everywhere. But we see this as a core trend right now in the data that we gather.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it's almost changing the dynamic. They are, your employees now are the ones, setting the boundaries, going, right, this is what I want of you as an employer. And if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to find someone who does. So it's changing a dynamic completely now.
That's right. And I've got to add something very German because the first thing I thought about was, okay, tax issues. How are you going to tax people and how is this going to work? Because in my network, this is the number one questions when they are starting to hire remote. So how do we do this? How is this tax-wise going to be? So this is where you can help then, I guess, with WorkMotion. But these are the frequent questions that I get. So more of the.
So there's a solution out there. That's right. But let's not dig into that. Just looking at the time already, we are like at 36 minutes. So I have like one other sort of case that I have prepared for you. So I'm looking more into concrete solutions right now. And I brought to you like 2 scenarios. And I want to start with the first scenario. So this is a fast growing company. either in Berlin or London or like in one of the big cities. The company has 100 employees and needs to double its workforce over the next 12 months. How would you do it? What are the tips, Susie?
What are the tips? So it's first establish what skills you actually need, and not just the immediate skills, long-term skills as well. And then as part of that, really understand what kind of skills can you kind of bolt on. Second, I would say identify exactly where your skills are going to be, go after them, and create a very, very attractive employee brand that can attract these people, and be very clear on what people policies you're offering.
Mm-hmm. What do you, can I dig into that? Like, what kind of people policies are you referring to?
So for example, part of your employee brand, are you calling out that you are a flexible employer?
Okay.
Are you calling out the type of leadership that will be available? Are you calling out how you're going to support their physical, mental, career health, for example? Things like that. That needs to be very, very clear as part of your employee brand. It can't be just, we're an amazing place to work. People are looking for concrete things now when they're looking for the different companies they're researching.
And would you go as far as like publishing those kind of policies?
I would, yes.
On the website. Okay.
So a big part of what I do as well is coaching a lot for interview coaching. And as part of it, people are coming into an interview going, tell me more about your company. Tell me more about what's your work-life balance. Tell me more about the flexibility. How am I going to be mentored, coached, supported? And it's coming in blind to these things really puts you on a back step as an employer, because others are going out and being very transparent and being very authentic about how they're going to support their people. And you could miss out on really strong talent if you're not able to share that.
I mean, this totally reminds me of my passion, which is sales. Of course, like in sales, you know, like you create like sales scripts and like what are potential objections and how to handle them. I mean, I sort of like this idea, right? So you really need to coach the interview people as well, right? So they need to have the right answers and they need to frame it in the right way, right? So all of the benefits.
And that's where we were talking earlier about being very strategic around your people strategy. Make it very clear so that it runs through the organization, that right from the top, everybody through the company really believes and understands what we all stand for, what we do for our people. So that, you know, the greatest attraction mechanism is your own people. They can go out and they can tap into their own network and bring you the right talent that you're looking for. But they need to believe in what you're offering, and they need to know it, rather than going and saying, well, you can do this, and then they come in and they realize it's a completely different experience.
Totally agree. So now let's move over to Eva. How would you double a fast-growing workforce from 100 to 200 in 12 months? What ideas do you have?
So I'd start with the basics. Hire some great recruiting talent first. Make sure your pipeline is really, really smooth. That's what I see working at Job UFO. We're an HR tech company that specifically looks at the pipeline and sees where the obstacles are and tackles them. And yeah, so bring on your recruiting side with all the information that Susie just added. So show your culture, show who you are, show some faces, but also when people are pushing the apply button, make sure that the process that follows as smoothly as it can be. And also gain information on what your talents liked and what they didn't like about it. And be quick. So if you're under distress, hire some great talent first. But if you can't find the right recruiting talent right away, head for freelancers. They do bring a network. They do have a lot of experience also from working with other companies. So build up a talent team that kicks ass and make sure your infrastructure is working. Don't use Excel. Don't try to do this by hand to sort it out. No, just buy an ATS. Buy Job UFO maybe, in the best case scenario. Just look up what you can add to your pipeline to make it smooth, because otherwise this won't work. Even if people bring you in the best talent, if the pipeline isn't set up well, it won't work.
If I totally agree, I was about to ask you how many recruiters do you need to double the workforce, but I think Anya in the audience had like a great hack idea. So what she's writing is you need to make the current employees sort of co-recruiters. And she gave even like a mathematical example. She said like if the existing 100 employees, if each one of them brings like one other employee, then the problem is solved.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
This would be the ideal case, right?
That
Susie?
would be the ideal case, yes. I mean, what does it cost to recruit someone? So it's they say that I've heard this number before. I can't substantiate it, but it's about £10,000 to recruit someone, 10,000 UK pounds, and it takes about 60 days to fill a role. So if your own ambassadors there can bring somebody from their own network, it really helps with that. But then to Eva's point, if the process, the onboarding process, has to be really slick and easy, otherwise people will fall out.
And you mentioned this as an ambassador program. Like, have you guys established something like this in your previous companies? Like, how would an ambassador program look like? Is there like a financial incentive associated to that, or do you create like rankings, like who recommended more people or who brought in more poor people? Like, what's the best practice on an ambassador program?
I don't know how you feel about the competitive side to it, Susie, but I'd say, money makes the world go round for sure. So I think a good hire, you should pay for a good hire that got referred. Either it's money or something like similar, like, I don't know, whatever, a gift card, whatever people want. But please make sure that people get reward for bringing good people to your company. And so this is the only thing I'd add at this point right now. I don't know, Susie.
Yeah, same, very same. I'm not sure about the competitive side of it. If you start opening this, you start getting numbers rather than anything else. So I would say definitely financial incentives. And a lot of organizations have already got that set up. Is it advertised? Is it really leveraged? But if you are going to bring in quality talent, then you do need to incentive, pay for it, basically.
Awesome. I just reminded myself that I was previously a country lead at Uber, and Uber had 27,000 employees. What do you think? How many referrals did they get out of the existing workforce? If the workforce was 27,000 employees, how many referrals did they get?
This is like a tricky question because you worked there before. So
I will tell you, 80,000. Okay.
What?
80,000 referrals. And I think there was also like some logic of like passing like the first test or screening interview or something like this. Yeah. So 80,000 referrals. That's like the yearly level of at scale at Uber from the existing workforce. Yeah. So that, maybe let's move to the other example that I brought. So let's forget about the fast-growing tech company. Now let's move to the Mittelstand company. So a traditional mid-sized company, same size, 100 people. Maybe they don't have this aggressive growth targets, but they want to retain a workforce and they want to grow maybe 5 to 10 people per year, but they're in the middle of nowhere. What should they do? Eva.
I'd say do the same. Hire great HR recruiting talent first, because you will need them. And especially in Mittelstand or like established companies, people grew from different position into HR. They really love their job, but is it the up-to-date, state-of-the-art way they're doing it? Question mark. I would doubt that. So make sure you hire like the mindset you are looking for in the other talents that might come. So search for recruiting talent with the right mindset, and they will automatically attract people with the same mindset, even from a different department. And so get out of your comfort zone as a company.
Is there a shortage of talent with recruiters? I mean, if this is like so much needed to solve the big problem, Are there enough recruiters out there, or?
I'd say no, Susie. So there are a lot of freelancers. Why are people going to freelance that much? Because the need is there, and it's hard to stay in one company and do the recruiting jobs for many years. So I think the shortage of talent is also on recruiting side.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think specific talent acquisition as well. So if we're looking at talent recruitment for if there are anyone on long-term sick or coming after having a long period away, having children, etc. So talent managers are able to understand how to attract that market and what type of initiatives that can be put in place by the company to feed back up the ladder into the people strategy. But they need to be able to understand that market really well, and there is a shortage of them.
Okay.
And I think also about people development, Susie, this is something you stretched a few times, and I think especially in those companies, they have to work on their expectation towards talent. And this is also what comes with great recruiting talent, and who really work hard with and on the hiring managers to get the right mindset into the company, because especially in Germany, people tend to look like for the talent that is already done, that doesn't need improvement. Like they have someone in mind and someone has to match this image. So I think you should also work on your expectation. Yeah.
More like hiring for experience than for potential, right? So,
definitely.
So maybe great on the inside, right? So I think what's interesting is that both very extreme scenarios seem to have like a very similar solution to it. Speaking of solutions, so Eva, you mentioned already buy the right ATS, right? So I wanted to give both of you the chance maybe to name a couple of products or tools or something, or maybe agencies that you would recommend to the audience here in order to tackle the shortage of talent. What comes to your mind?
So is this my pitch now of Job UFO? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I would recommend Job UFOs. Just find out where. We're not video recruiting. Please don't put us like into this video recruiting bowl where we're not. Let's talk about it. I show you everything we're doing. We're more than that. We're really a tech company that is up to date and is always thinking beforehand. So please come to me. And besides that, I can tell you what I worked with. So this is mostly what I can recommend. So first of all, it's Peakon for surveys. So I really like this. I like the style. I looked into a lot of different tools. There are some more like Leapsome, especially here in Germany. And you can mention a lot more in the chat right now. If I'm forgetting to mention some right now that are also great. But hey, look into the tools you like. Just have a look at it. A look and feel is really important. So just don't stick with a demo. Try to explore it yourself and ask questions over and over. If you don't get it, and if they don't answer the question right, don't buy it. That's my advice on this. And another tool I really like regarding ATS or a full service solution, let's say more, for sure, as German and as someone from the startup scene, I have to name Personio, which is also kind of going international right now. And I use them from really the beta phase in my the agency I worked before as HR. So they really, really work their ass off on this product. So please have a look at it. And there are other great talent solutions that really tackle specific areas of this field. So I could name a lot more, like Prescreen, or that I also really like, or sorry, I could name some more, but I think it's not like the time really to name drop all of them. And sorry if I forgot some, but I wasn't prepared for this question. Was it on the slide? I don't know.
No.
I wasn't really prepared. So Susie, it's your turn. I'm sorry.
Susie.
Oh, I'm very similar to you, but I would say very similar to you. I mean, you mentioned all of the tools. I would just add when you are picking your tool, think about the user experience, not only from a HR perspective, because if you are, the talent acquisition managers, they are going to be inundated with stuff. Their work is really difficult. It needs to be slick and easy for them. In addition, it needs to be very, very slick for your hiring person on the other side of it. If that onboarding process, or if that process is not slick and easy, it gives a really bad image to yourself as an organization. And then when they are in the company, what is the onboarding process there? We used to join a company, have the one-to-one meetings, face-to-face with your manager, etc. And in a virtual world, what does that look like? How are they going to learn about your company? How are they going to learn about your strategy, what your mission is, etc. in a virtual world? And having really strong e-onboarding tools, as it were, to really help that process is going to be really critical.
Okay, great. So before I come to the last question, I'm just reading in parallel Alex's comment on the previous topic. So on the previous topic, Eva, I think you mentioned that German companies tend to hire for experience and not so much for potential. And Alex said that based on his experience or her experience in England, it's exactly the opposite, right? So they are more like looking for talent, and then they are training those people. Would you agree to that? Do you see this? Maybe do you have like experience from different countries, or would you generally agree to this statement?
So from a London perspective, I would say, from an England perspective, actually UK, I would say that is the trend now. So a lot of hiring managers, a lot of leaders have realized that to really have what they need to nurture the skills required. So they are bringing in based on potential and building that up. Additionally, I think there's a bit of vagueness around the type of roles as well. The roles are very, very different now than when they used to be. So there's a big appreciation there.
Okay, great. So with that, I would say, do you guys want to share anything at the end right now? Maybe some thoughts, food for thought, or any other tips that you would like to share? I think we are pretty much at the end. We've covered quite a lot. I think there were some nuggets in there, so very interesting. But now's the time to close this with maybe like a final statement. Susie.
My final statement, I suppose, it's a crucial time. We've gone through some significant change over the last 12 months. We have learned a lot. It's been, we've gone through a period of drastic uncertainty. As we come out of this now and we're moving in a bit more stability, a lot of companies are thinking about recruiting, thinking about where they recruit this talent from. Just as we said today, just get your processes straight, get them slick, and think about the employee experience and what policies you want to put in place to be able to communicate them.
Okay, thanks. Eva?
Yeah, how to add to this, I'd say make sure that with whatever you do, you feel comfortable with, because otherwise you can't, the tools won't work, I guess, otherwise. And you have not only to attract talent, but also to attract your hiring managers to your new processes and the stuff that's already there. So make sure you yourself as a recruiter, as an HR person, you're feeling good about what you're doing. And if not, then ask for consulting, build up a stable network. I think this is a thing I would recommend, and ask your network for help. And more. So a lot of brains are better than one. That's what I learned in my 10 years of recruiting. So don't only trust yourself, also try to get some insights from other perspectives from time to time.
Great. So thanks for sharing those insights, Eva and Susie. So I think there's hope, right? So I think we mentioned a lot of solutions here. So from our side, thanks again for sharing your insights and for allocating some time. What is the best way to get in contact with you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it writing an email? Is it via your blogs? What is the best way if someone from the audience wants to get in touch with you?
For me, it's LinkedIn. For you as well, Susie?
Yeah, LinkedIn, the same. You can find me on LinkedIn there. So Susie or Susanna, just get in touch.
Okay.
I'd love what you've got.
Awesome. So thank you. And with that, I think we are right on time, I would say. So should we wait? Maybe I think there's a lot of thank you notes. So I would say let's end it here. Again, it was a pleasure discussing this. It was very energetic. I liked it. And I wish you a great evening. Okay.
For you too.
Thank you very much. It was lovely being here.
Thank you. Bye. Greetings to London.
Bye-bye.